What's up, guys? My name is Mad Squash 924. Welcome back to another episode of Night Call. This is now part 31 of our Let's Play thus far, and we have to... well, we're trying to find out who the Sandman is, right? Right. I could pick up any of these customers. I think I recognize every one of these customers, maybe except you, but you're very far away. But, since this is, what, night 6, I think now? I believe this is our final night before we have to discover who the Sandman is, so we probably should get some more information, I think, of who it is. You pull a newspaper out of your glove compartment and start leafing through it. Eventually, something grabs your eye. They mention the name of the hospital where one of your passengers, Jenna, worked. You learn from the article that lots of medicine went missing, including pancuronium bromide. That's interesting. I didn't think we'd find evidence off of this. I'm very glad we're doing it. You turn the page and stop. You've read about a third of the newspaper. You stop reading and go back a few pages. You thought you saw something. In a short, rather tense article, a journalist explains that the 200th American-style coffeehouse just opened in Paris. She regrets the disappearance of real, authentic bistros. You sigh. You only have a third left to read. As soon as you get to the page, you stop. Instinct tells you to look at. It's a lukewarm critique of La Pierre, according to the critic. The problem is not with the food, but with the restaurant's marketing. When you spend your time chasing stars and honors, you forget why you opened a restaurant in the first place. The tone of the article is sad and bleak. You shut the paper. It'll end up in the trash tonight. If you remember, it's there. Otherwise, it will spend the rest of its days in your glove compartment. Oh, they actually spent all the rest of our time. Okay. Actually, it was a good thing we read that newspaper. So we lost some money, but I think this is our final night. So I think we're okay. You take a few minutes to update your board with your new clues. A bus goes by, making the walls shake. You take off your shoes before getting to work. The new thing we got, let's see if I can find it, because I imagine it'll be a little bit more, unorganized when we find it. Actually, I don't recognize it. Is it down here? Nope. Was it her? Galadine... Camille, Alexander, Christophe. Yeah, I think it was her that took the stuff. Right? I think so. Also, I think, let's just end the night. I think we have to find out who the killer is tonight. The phone rings. You impulsively take a step back. It's the moment of truth. Hello? Hi. Ice cold. So? She heaves this long sigh. There's no background noise. She must not be at the station. I've got a name for you. Perfect. I'm listening. You glance at the wall. The suspects are all lined up, all the evidence, a whole mess of your ideas. Your stomach is in a knot. I don't have to remind you. You cannot get this wrong. I have a meeting in 2 hours with the district attorney and the chief of police. Even the Minister of the Interior will be in the corner of the room somewhere. Obviously, I'm thrilled. But I certainly don't want to put too much pressure on you. You can almost hear her smirk she must be wearing. You lay the receiver down on the table. Now you have to decide. Okay, now let's crack down on this. Killer's height. That's the biggest clue, right? Killer height belongs to either one of these three. Anita, Alexander, or Camille. Leaving Christophe out of the picture, which is good. And we know Galadine is not the murderer, which is also good for us. Now, let's see here. I want to start from right to left because I feel like it'll probably be easiest to look at that. So we have Camille here, who's an entrepreneur, heir of the fourth victim, young, fit, good physical state, anger management issues, attacked a cop of the day of the first killing. She was never arrested. She has a blurry past, lives in a studio owned by her family and the Grupa Diamant. Now, let's see here. Victim 4 changed 2 days before the death, which led to her, I imagine. Albatross fire equals push victim 4 to sell shares. And then heir to victim 4's fortune. All seems pretty sus. Right? However, and then she attacked a cop of the day of the first victim. It doesn't lead me to believe, though, of her other... of the other murders, though. 2 and 3 is very hazy. It doesn't actually tell you about victim 2 or 3 at all. Alexander Leclerc. He's a retired mailman. He's good in physical state despite his alcoholism. Lost his grandson in the Albatross fire a few months ago. Was one of the more vocal protesters after the Albatross fire. Attacked Anita Ventimiglia during a protest. She never pressed charges. I wonder if that's because Anita killed her son. I mean, his grandson. Alexander's grandson died in the Albatross fire, who also was victim 1. So we know that victim 1 is the grandson of Alexander. I don't think he would kill his own grandson is the issue, right? I mean, maybe he accidentally died. It's possible that he accidentally died. And then that led him to murder other things, I guess you could argue. Let's see, what else? Muscle relaxant disappeared from the hospital the night of the fire. Yeah, okay. You're irrelevant. We have a lot of evidence against Anita. We know the victims were all drugged, I believe. Let's see here. We don't know much about victim 2, ironically enough, which kind of is too bad. We know they're a member of the escort place, like Christoph is. Anything else about victim 2? Not really. Victim 2 received money to shut up about Albatross from her. That's interesting. Victim 1's death equals a scapegoat. Yeah, Victim 1 fired from Group Diamant years before the Albatross fire. Victim 1 used to work with the Mafia. I want to say it's Anita. My second guess, I guess, would have to be Camille. I don't think Alexander did it. I don't. The most evidence actually does point to Anita. However, it's always stated that it might be wrong. Anyway, let's find out if it's Anita. I'm going with Anita. I am not 100% happy about picking Anita. But she has access to all these things, like all the drugs from the dentist office. She has ties to a mafia. But that doesn't necessarily mean that she's the killer, right? Not really. I don't know. Let's go for it. Wish me the best. You pick the phone back up and explain your choice to Lieutenant Bussett. Why? How? The evidence, your source says she listens without saying a word. When you finish talking, she remains silent for just a second too long. You sense she's not convinced. Listen, are you sure of what you're saying? Because between what you told me this morning and what you're saying now, something's not right. You're sure the suspect is the one you want to pursue? Has she ever said that to us before? Hold on. Maybe it's not. What if we say it's this one? Okay, we'll follow this lead. I'm going to see what I can do with this. She heaves a huge sigh. Shit, I hope for your sake it's good work. So ironically, this is the first time she actually questions us about this. And before you get in a word edgewise, I'll call you tonight. Try to get some sleep. She pauses. No way she's going to hang up on such a positive note. Well, she's probably going to... It might be your last night of freedom. She snickers and hangs up. Well, I mean, I said Anita, and then she's like, nah, are you sure? I don't remember her ever saying that towards any of the other suspects. You put the phone down, you might as well be standing in the ice-cold emptiness of outer space. You decide to go to bed, to sleep, best way to kill time. With a heavy hand, you wipe your tired face. You slide onto the open sofa bed. The events of the day run through your head. The streets, the passengers, their faces, their problems. I'm not convinced of it was that lady on the right either. I honestly don't know. I can't put the pieces together enough to confirm why it would be either one of those. You open one eye. You had a hard night. Restless. You get the impression you aged 5 years in a matter of hours. You get up quickly. And a few minutes later, you're outside of your studio as night 7 begins. Where Busset will tell us if we fucked up or not. We'll find out. You exit your place and you see Busset leaning up against your cab. She waves you to get in. You get in. A metallic taste creeps into your mouth. You and I had a deal. You nod painfully. The intel you gave me was total crap. Okay. Hear me out. So it wasn't her, like I thought. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to the main menu. So yeah, okay. Let's see where this puts us, actually. We might be screwed here. Okay, we can choose our board again. I mean, initially I was thinking Anita, right? And then you could also argue Alexander. So it's definitely not Camille. Sort of, we kind of cheated, but, you know, whatever. But I didn't think it was going to be her. It didn't make sense. But she questioned me on Anita, which I freaking didn't like. I mean, I gotta catch this murderer. I mean, we were wrong with Camille. It's not Camille. Let's see if we can actually get the murderer this time. In fact, I kind of want to choose him this time because, well, she questioned me. She questioned me on Anita. But I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was him. She says, "Okay, I'll buy. It seems like a slow choice. I can fish around a bit to vet your information." Hey, so is it Alexander? I mean, I can see Alexander doing it because the victim 1 died in the fire, right? And because of that, he goes on this spree. He does have a motive for victim 1. Because the victim 1 died, he goes on and takes out the other ones to go destroy Anita's business and Angeladine, really. So, yeah, that does make sense. And the muscle relaxed and disappeared from the hospital the night of the fire. So, do you think he killed his own grandson, though? I don't think he did. I'll call you tonight, try to get some sleep. Okay. I mean, I can see that, right? I mean, I want to see if my first choice was the correct choice, but she questioned me on my first choice. That's why I really backed out on it. What can you do? Alright, let's see what Busset says. Good news. You're right. Wow, it was him. That's crazy. I literally didn't expect him to be the same man. Or at least the DA thinks your evidence is sufficient. No emotion in her voice. She's giving you the facts, nothing more. We're going to catch the Sandman tonight. I still find it very strange that it was him. Did he kill his own grandson, however? That's what I'm really suspicious about. Right? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he'll tell us tonight. She glances at her watch. In about 2 hours, we're going to make him leave his place. He's going to just light you? Don't worry about us. She pulls some kind of pen out of her pocket that she puts in a little cubby just above her car stereo. This is a bug. You need a confession? If you feel like it, if you think you can manage it. I've seen you and heard you enough to know that you have a trick. A gift for getting people to talk. Our suspect is a dangerous man, a wounded animal. I need someone calm, someone I can trust. He might recognize you. He might think it's a twist of fate. Who knows? She looks away. A little girl and her mother are walking by the cab. Start a conversation, stay calm, get them talking, nothing more. I'll give you meeting points, we'll be there waiting. waiting to grab him before things take a turn for the worst. She sighs. Two teens walk by the cab, and the intense smell of weed fills the cab, but Busset doesn't budge. I know you can do it. If you stick to the plan, nothing can go wrong. Understood. She gives you her typical smile, like an owner admiring her dog performing a perfect trick. I'm off. She lays her hand on the door handle. You pick the suspect up, drive to the meeting point, and you're free. Easy as pie. She gets out of the cab, slams the door, and walks quickly away. Shit. Oh, shit. You hit the dashboard. Intense pain spreads through your hand. You grab the keys in the ignition and turn. The motor comes on. Your night is about to begin. Your last night. So, it is a bit of a cop-out. We did go back to the main menu, right? But, I think it was needed. Who knows what would have happened if we didn't do it right? I mean, obviously we screwed up the first time. Actually, my initial thought was a screw up at first as well, which is a bit too bad. Who should we pick up in the meantime? I literally recognize every one of these faces. I don't really want to pick up any of them. Maybe we just go to a gas station. Yeah? Go to a gas station. I kind of would like Ludwig to pick us back up, which would be kind of cool. You know? Have him come in the car again. Alright, let's see. Let's go to the mini-mart. Let's just go and, evening. Let's just go get these. Scratchy scratch. Yes, we win money! Or we lost money. All of a sudden, tonight doesn't seem so bad. Hell yeah, dude. Let's get some newspaper, too. Say, a guy like you, someone who spends most nights here, you must know something about the killer, right? He raises his head and seems almost happy you brought it up. Weird. The guy behind the counter barely looks at you as you leave. That's strange. Alright, let's get out of here. Okay, we still have time to go pick someone up, looks like. Frick, I don't want to pick anybody up. Let's pick you up. We picked you up before. I mean, we picked all of them up before, but I guess we'll pick you up. Milo Reacher. You pull up in front of an American embassy. Can't recall ever picking a customer here up before. They probably have a fleet of their own, or a contract with a private company. The door opens, you take an immediate liking to the guy who gets in. You find him somehow reassuring, like a lost tourist. He babbles something in English. You have to listen hard to make out the address. Sorry, I'm just back in Paris. I forgot my manners. He flashes you a sparkling smile. His voice is tinged with a slight American accent. You turn the key in the ignition. Thanks, what's your name, pal? You're surprised to hear him use the familiar tu form straight off the bat. I think we've actually had this conversation before. Hussein. Nice to meet you, Hussein. He stares at you intently for a moment. My name is, He nods slowly, as if disheartened. But if I reveal my name, I'll be left with no other choice. I'll have to kill ya. He pauses way too long to be joking. His face darkens. It's a different man on the seat behind you. And then his face creases into a grin. Hey, amigo, I'm joking. I work for the CIA, that's all. So I guess you really get around. You could say that. Let me tell you, amigo, I'm always off traveling. Love traveling. So much for reducing my carbon footprint. He bursts into laughter. No wonder I'm a spy, eh, amigo? A wave of sadness comes over your passenger. You read it in gestures, in his gestures, and the look on his face. You cast a glance in the rearview mirror, trying to catch his eye. No luck. Tough night? Just like any other night, with its share of highs and lows. A soft drunken burp tells you what the highs are. It's just that, sits back upright as if someone had to struck him on the back of the neck. I don't have any children, amigo, but, I've had some under my supervision. Kids. One of them is, stop short. Doesn't have to finish. You know where that sentence ends. You slump heavily against your seat and focus on the road, on automatic pilot, your mind a blank. What would you do if your children disappeared? Something awful. You can't even imagine it. The wrenching sorrow of a parent who loses a child. You know, first time I saw him, his voice has gone up a notch. You almost jumped. He was beating up a black market supplier. The guy sold him a shoe polish that smelled like shit, and his business depended on shoe polish. It was always stationed around Krakow Clothes Hall, the fools call it Zucchinis, calling out to passersby at the top of his lungs. His voice trails off. Bogdan. It wasn't the first kid I've ever supervised. It's just that there was something different about him. He caught on fast, amigo. Know what I mean? He could think on his feet. He knew when to get tough and when to play dead. Bodan was like a little Polish monkey. Smart, cunning, fearless, brave, a real comic book hero. Breaks off again. His name was Bodan? Bogdan. Bodan. I forget. I haven't spoken any Polish since. You know, amigo, people sometimes make this immediate connection. When I met Bodan, that's what happened. He was beating up his supplier, right? And I went over and I had him a Mars bar. That's what we always gave them back then, you know? We had about 5 minutes for a serious talk before the sugar kicked in. That was back in '88. Poland was no longer part of the USSR. Soviets had lost. What an amazing country, amigo. Have you ever been there? Never. That's too bad. You arrive at your destination. A nondescript building, all glass and metal. Every person is unique. Your passenger reaches into his pocket fishing for the fare. Some are as cool as concrete, others fragile, like cut glass. He pulls out a bill and hands it to you. The pearls are made of steel. His voice falters. His eyes glaze over. Good evening. Your passenger casts a glance at the building out of the window. It can't get any worse. The job is still the job, at least. He feels for something in his vest. The idea of his having a gun gives you quite a start. That kid entered my life like a jingle. See what I mean? He's struggling to find the right metaphor. Life is just like a radio. There are the songs, the interviews, the ads, and the jingles. The jingles are short, but they stick in your head. You can't get rid of them. You nod assent without thinking. Your client grins. The police got him. Trained the kid, and then he went and got himself whacked. Through his own fault, too. Thought he was smarter. It's been 30 years, but Bogdan, whatever. That kid could have made himself something. He could have made something of himself, I guess. And let himself get caught pickpocketing a couple of American tourists. And made a run for it. Got shot in the back. Dumbass. He opens the cab door. The cold air rushes in. I taught that kid everything I know. Everything. Well, so much for him. He exits the cab. The door slams with a resounding echo. You sit stock still, taking in his parting words. And then you start the cab back up. No better way to get your mind off of things. Alright, moment of truth. Mr. Sandman. Mr. Sandman. You're getting arrested. I'm gonna get you. Maybe kill. Hopefully he doesn't kill me. That'd be bad. We'll see what happens. I still think it's crazy that he's Sandman. Alright. It's time. Moment of truth. You pull up to the sidewalk and wait for the suspect to exit the building. It's a hotel. Not a very nice one. Heavy bars protect the windows, not that they need to. It doesn't look like they open. He must have come here after the fire. How many other survivors have been living and sleeping here for months on end? The back door opens, and your passenger sits down. St. Louis Hospital, please. He's been drinking. The stench of booze settles into your cab. You nod and start driving. You ride along, and your passenger doesn't look at you. He seems preoccupied, distracted by something outside. You're pretty sure the suspect doesn't recognize you. He's barely looked at you. You'd love to be able to read his mind, to understand how he got to this point. How he can kill so methodically, in cold blood. He looks like a nice grandfatherly type. What if he's not the guy? Plus, it will make you pay. You must jump at the sound of his voice. Change of plans. I need to go to 122 Rue de la Boétie. You raise an eyebrow. Understood. At the next intersection, you change directions and drive away from the meeting point with the police. How can you fix this? Maybe you can drop your passenger off and then call bus to explain? He might try to escape. What's he going to do on Rue de la Boétie? It's a posh neighborhood with a theater, shops, office buildings. You clench your gut. There's something else on Rue de la Boétie. Aren't the Grupo Diamant's headquarters somewhere nearby? Grupo Diamant, the company who was responsible for the fire. There's no way that's a coincidence, not a chance. You raise an eye to look in the rearview mirror and cross your passenger's gaze. Everything alright? His voice is clear, crystal clear. No, the slightest alcoholic slur. Well, you sober up fast. He grins. Clever. Good observational skills. I like those qualities. His voice is different. His words, his way of speaking. Something has changed. You almost reached your destination, and you tense up. I'm quite bothered. I'm worried about you, my friend. You freeze. You haven't slept much this week? You don't dare turn around. And I think you've gotten a little too involved in this investigation. Why don't we make a deal? You tell me what you know and what they're planning tonight, and I'll let you live. Out comes a weapon. You don't know where it came from, but now it's pointing right at you. One sign, one move, and you disappear. Understood? You nod, very slowly. Who do you work for? The cops. He shakes his head in disappointment. That's what I thought. Why you? As he says that, he freezes. Oh, you're the cab driver I shot, aren't you? You turn to nod. You come to the address he gave you. I'm sorry. You surprised me. I panicked. I didn't mean to. What do they want from me? The cops. I suppose all that, the call from the hospital in the middle of the night, was a trap? His voice seems so soft, you sense you have to play the honesty card with him and be straight. They want to arrest you. They want to arrest me. You nod your head slowly, ever so slowly. No sharp movements. You have to keep telling the truth. They have proof and they're on your trail. The old man gets used to the idea. I thought I had a little more time. I thought I could disappear. He stares at you, his gaze intense. What was the plan, really? I mean, a rough arrest? Actually, she said we could get a confession. Get a confession? A confession! Yeah, the car's bugged. He grins. Why are you telling me all this? I could kill you and... You're not a murderer. Yeah, like I thought. He's not a murderer, but... I don't think he's afraid to die either. This is interesting. Which route do we go? To be fair, I did not think he was a murderer. I think it was because of his grandson that died that he turned into this. You're not a murderer. Not a murderer. You kill for a very specific reasons. I've done nothing to hurt you. He pauses, watches you, with a smirk on his face. You are strange. I'm realistic. You sense his body suddenly relax. Very well. You're going to turn yourself in? Yes, of course. You start driving. Busset must wonder what you're doing. A drop of sweat drips down your spine. Listen very carefully to what I'm going to say. I have no regrets. Not one, not for any of my victims. Each and every one deserved to die. They lied. They turned a blind eye. They caused the death of more than 80 people. And for what? For money. Yeah, I know. Good. You get it. He adjusts his posture. A mere detail, perhaps, but you notice it. His weapon is still right there, though. Yeah, that's why I thought initially it was that other girl. Because there's a lot of evidence that points to her being a murderer. Because you see all this evidence compiled on her. And she had connections to the mafia. She could have had access to these drugs and stuff that led to these murders, but she's not directly connected to the murders. When he starts speaking again, his voice is slower, like he suddenly gets 10 years older. I broke into your place, you know. Yeah, I know, because somebody broke into my place. I figured it was the Sandman. I saw your walls, your files. There were two possibilities. Either you worked for the cops or for the Grupo Diamant. But I figured the Grupo Diamant could afford to hire a private detective. And I saw you sticking your nose into things left and right. Each time I've moved forward, there you were, sniffing around. I needed to know more about you. He freezes, shaking. You must think I'm a little nuts, right? He doesn't wait for a reply. I started killing because no one was doing anything. That journalist sold out to Diamant. The city hall woman, rotten to the core. That son of a bitch arsonist. I'm sure he's the one who set fire to the albatross. Even the old guy. He was just a stockholder, like any other, willing to do whatever it takes to make a few thousand more. His voice becomes screechy. And let me ask you, what was it to him? He was already a millionaire. My life doesn't change when I find a penny in the gutter, does it? I mean, he was rolling in it for sure. He deserved to die. You nod. This is no moment to disagree. I was a soldier, you know. Yes, you probably know that already, though. You checked up on me. In Tojina, I was barely 20. They gave me a rifle and some bullets. They pointed me to 3 guys in the field and said, "Those are our enemies, you have to kill them." So I killed them. He pauses. He watches a woman walking by outside. She's completely unaware. When I understood when I discovered what we were fighting for, it was too late. And when I came back to France, I was treated like shit. No one gave a damn about us. He gags on his own words. What happens if I run right now? Guess I'll be in deep shit. Is that why you're helping them? Yeah. Must have done something shady. You done time? Yeah. Something major, I suppose. He shrugs. You seem like a good guy. I couldn't care less what you did. He sits in thought for a while. His gun is shaking. It would bother the hell out of me if you went to jail for me, really. And not far now. Next street on the right, the old man clears his throat. I, Alexander Leclerc, confess to the murder of Jean Breton, Sandrine Rollin, Michael Leblanc, and Henry du Tilix. I worked alone, no accomplices, no outside help, and I gave them an anesthetic I used in Indochina. While they were suffocating, I talked to them. I went through the list of all the horrible and cruel acts that contributed to the Albatross fire. That was my motive, to seek revenge for the death of my grandson and the dozens of other victims. Nothing personal, just justice. He pauses, sniffles, and leans over to you. You think that'll do it? You nod, and see in the rearview mirror that the weapon has disappeared. Good. I have one last thing to ask you. My daughter. His voice fades out just as you turn into the alleyway. Hold on, there's a achievement I can't read. Oh man, there's another achievement. Just give me a second. Sorry about this. The headlights from the police cars flood your cab with bright lights. Another car comes to block you in. A voice on a megaphone asks you to get out of the taxi. You turn to your passenger. He's not moving anymore. Nice mess, huh? The lieutenant manages to fit twice as much cynicism as usual into her voice. The cops have only just let you back in your taxi. They don't know if they're going to be able to save him yet. The dose he gave himself was fit for a horse. Oh, he dosed himself. I didn't even realize that. Earlier when you were talking to Alexander, he gave himself a shot. It doesn't look good. He committed suicide in your back seat. A real nice mess. I've run into some crazy criminals on the job, but he's among the top 3. Yeah, he thought he was doing the right thing. Yes, I can see that. He's convinced he's a hero. He's incapable of understanding the seriousness of his crime. He thinks he's Robin Hood. She flashes a clear and honest smile. Anyway, you did good work on this case. I must admit I'm a bit surprised. Impressed even. Listen, you're no longer needed here, and we got the tapes. We have your statement, and if he decides to wake up, we'll get his. The cops flick away an imaginary ball of fuzz on her leg. She throws the fuzz somewhere in your taxi. Actually, if you could kindly get the hell out of here as soon as possible. Don't leave the country, obviously. I just need you to be available if I have questions. But I'm no longer considered you a suspect, and you're free to go. She puts her hands on the door. And what's the magic word? Go fuck yourself. She snickers before getting out of the car. You remain completely still, consumed with anger and exhaustion. A cop waves for you to back up. You start the taxi and pull out of the alleyway. The flashing lights, the cops, it all quickly vanishes. You speed through Paris. Not a soul on the road. A thought crosses your mind almost against your will. You hope Alexander will survive. And you start driving west, far from Paris, far from everything. I kind of suspected... Oh, it's supposed to be more afterward, isn't there? Yeah, I think there is. Just give me a second. But this game was very, very good. Also, this is the last of the suspects. So after this, there's no more. I mean, you could see that by the thumbnail. There's no more after this. The sun is about to come up. You drove all night long with your window open and the radio tuned to that phantom frequency. The electric static kept you awake. You're so tired, your chest is tight and your eyes are heavy, but you can't stop. Not now. You're going to run out of gas soon. The light went on about 20 kilometers back, and you're somewhere in Normandy. You pull over to the shoulder and get out. There's almost no traffic, and you step over the guardrails, your eyes adjust to the colorful break of dawn. The sun will soon rise over the horizon. You get your phone out and dial a number. It doesn't ring, it's direct to voicemail. A voice asks you to leave a message after the beep. Hey, I wanted to... You catch your breath. When Ada told me she held onto your phone just to hear the sound of your voice, I thought it was stupid. But now, the sun is slowly rising and its colors are flooding the landscape. Bare underbrush, a tiny village lost in fog in the distance, a hilltop sparkling with dew. The view seems alien to you. I wanted to thank you for giving me the opportunity to redeem myself. Thanks. The words disgust you, but it's too late. Thanks to you, I did something important. I mean, I think. Who knows? Silence. Your head is spinning. You haven't spoken to your brother in years. Well, in manner of speaking. You grin. I mean, I guess so. I'm good. I mean, I guess so. It's strange to hear your voice, but it feels too good, too. You pause. A truck flies by just meters from you. I thought when it was all over, I thought I'd be able to get some decent sleep. Close my eyes and sleep. Really sleep. Finally. But sleeping is just a break. It doesn't put an end to it. It all starts up again as soon as a voice cuts you off. You have reached the maximum time limit. Please. You hang up. Your phone feels heavy in your hand. What should you do now? There's a broken fence in front of you, leading to a small footpath into the woods. And behind you is the highway leading to the sea. Let's get back in the car. I think the first time we disappeared, the second time we visited what's-her-name, and this time we'll just get back in the car. You sigh and retrace your steps. On the other side of the guardrail, you find your overheated cab. Next gas station can't be much further. You slowly turn the key in the ignition. There's gotta be something for you. Out there. And with that, that is the end of Night's Call. We have done every one of these little missions, and that game was very, very good. Sorry about the initial guessing of the wrongness I did. In fact, I guessed all of them wrong. I didn't think it was the same man was gonna be that guy. I'm a little bit curious what would have happened if we did it differently, and tried to keep going with what would happen if you got it wrong. So you could do it that route, but if you guys want to figure that out for yourself, go be free and do that route. I just wanted to make sure you guys saw the same man killer. If you guys enjoyed this entire Let's Play from start to finish and you were with me, thank you so much for coming with me on this journey. If you guys liked it, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment. Tell me what you think of this entire game. This game was very good. There's also a free roaming mode if you guys are interested in that kind of thing, where I think you just go and view stories, I think. And you should just kind of live life. and try to figure out people's stories and backgrounds. And I think you still have to have like a money quota as well. So if you want to do that, actually, it doesn't even look like it. There's no money quota. You just kind of do things. You just do whatever you want and listen to their stories and try to fill the Passadex with everything. And we still didn't actually find every passenger, which is crazy. But if you're new to my channel or been watching me for a little while and you haven't done so, feel free to subscribe to me, MadSquash924, and don't forget to ring the bell to get notified of my latest videos. And I will see you on the next episode of whatever we decide to do. Have a good night, everybody, and I'm just gonna go take a taxi out of here now. Bye-bye!